Governor Spencer Cox of Utah just had a speech where he said he has been praying for 33 hours straight that when they caught the person who did this to Charlie Kirk, that he wouldn't be one of us, wouldn't be from his state, wouldn't be from this country. But he says he was wrong and all of his praying did not work. Shocking. Now, let me translate for some of you what he's really saying. He wishes it was somebody more brown and not so white and not from our country and maybe an illegal immigrant or maybe somebody trans so we could pin it on them. But no, this is a direct reflection in the mirror. We don't know anything about Taylor Robinson yet. All that he's 22. We've seen a picture of him and his dad. His dad helped him to turn him in. Of course, he came in safely. Only that is only allowed for mass pun. Somehow they never, they get taken in, no problem. Anyway, I'm digressing. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments. Secret Service Sam out, Samson for president of TikTok.
Bad stuff happens. And for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for. Just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here.
Do you know how racist you've got to be to come out as the governor of a state and say this?
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for.
He literally prayed that the killer was an immigrant, that the killer was from another state, that the killer was not from the United States of America. And in short, he was pissed that his racist prayers were not answered. Is racism a religion in America? Because what the hell? He literally wished the killer looked something like this. But if he did his homework, he would have understood that the last 4 mass shooters in America looked something like this. Even the state secretary was looking at him like, what the hell? This is just another classic case of how can we blame the niggers? How can we blame the immigrants? How can we shift the blame on someone else? I'm sorry to break it down, Mr. Governor, but as you all know, the killer was indeed one of you.
Oh, I've tried to make this video a couple of times, but it keeps going long. So I'm going to try to talk fast because I don't normally talk fast. Anyway, I just watched the press conference about the suspect in custody in the killing of Charlie Kirk. Very good thing. Less than 36 hours, they caught the person responsible. I think there's been some sort of confession. They got their guy. Great. Press conference gives details, and then as is typical in this situation, law enforcement gets up and pats themselves on the back. FBI gets up, pats himself on the back, and then the governor of Utah starts to speak. The governor of Utah is talking about dangerous rhetoric that leads to political violence and how it has no place in our country. And I am 100% aligned with that sentiment. That is what needs to be said. But then he goes on to thank the people of Utah for coming out in support of law enforcement, in support of Charlie Kirk and his family, in support of the university community that has experienced this trauma. All wonderful things. And then he says, unlike what we've seen in other cities with rioting and looting and violence. And that's where he fucking lost me. Because what do you mean? Other cities experiencing violence, looting, and rioting. That microaggression is coded language for racism. He is speaking directly about where we have seen an outpouring of protests that, yes, have turned violent at times and have turned into riots. None of those things are okay. None of it's okay. But there's a big difference between what happened after, say, George Floyd, for example, and what's happened in Utah, and that is justice. The full arm of the law went out and tracked down this murderer. He is in jail. He will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Whereas in these other scenarios, law enforcement were the perpetrators of that initial violence, and there was never going to be justice until the live video and that public outpouring of anger forced the hands of someone to go, maybe we should look into Derek Chauvin and see if maybe he was a little too aggressive. That is the major difference. We did not have to go and angrily force anyone's hand to get justice for Charlie Kirk and his family. He was afforded that justice immediately. Whereas when a Black American is killed by law enforcement, we go right to questioning whether or not they deserved it. Nobody deserves to be a victim of violence. And it doesn't matter their socioeconomic status, their fame, their fortune, or their race. So no, we don't have to have riots in Utah because the right things are being done. But the next time a police officer kills a Black man and the local authorities just brush it off, yeah, we are going to take to the streets and demand justice.
To the Utah governor, why do you need it to be someone else? I mean, we know why, but I just want to hear it from you. I hope a reporter follows up on that you were hoping that was a foreigner or someone that wasn't a part of your community and it wasn't one of you guys. I'm very curious at how we're going to approach that line of questioning. Now, you did mention a death penalty. My question is, are you still about the life?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Look, I saw that press conference with the governor of Utah. I'm going to be real with y'all. Did y'all hear that press conference? I want y'all to go Google it or YouTube it. And I want y'all to, listen to what he said. I'm just going to I wish I could bring it up. Like, this is one thing I got to learn how to do, is bring up his press conference. When he said, if something like this was going to happen, he wished it would have been like someone from a foreign country or someone from another state had did something like this other than one of their own. It would have made it easier. So when I heard that, and he was talking about Charlie Kirk getting killed, I'm going to stop using assassination. He got killed. And did you see how he said Republicans, Democrats, MAGA? MAGA is not a fucking party. Like, stop doing that stupid shit. But let's talk about that comment. He said it out of his mouth. They wanted to blame some foreigner or someone of color or anybody other than a Utahrian. I don't know how y'all call it, person who live in Utah. And we all know Utah is predominantly white. So he wanted to blame someone other than someone white. It would have been easier. He said that. You cannot make this up. Go to YouTube. He said it out of his mouth. He wished it would have been someone foreign. He wished it would have been someone other than someone who lived in Utah. So basically, people, what he said was, when he said foreign, he wished it would have been someone that they could have blamed other than someone white. And then stop talking about MAGA as if they're a party. They're not. They're not a party. It's Republican Party, and it's supposed to be the Democrat Party. That's it. And maybe the Independent Party. MAGA is not a party. MAGA is something that was started by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. That's what it is. So stop making this guy out to be something that he wasn't. He was just a citizen who ran his mouth, who pissed off a lot of people and got himself killed because he took the Constitution and the freedom of speech and he used it as a weapon instead of a tool, and the weapon came back and bit him. That's all he did. Just all he did. Just like any other citizen, if you take part of the Constitution and you use that part of that Constitution as a weapon, that weapon will turn around and bite you. That's all he did. Period. So let's stop playing this game, people, and stop doing this. The governor of Utah should be ran out of office, but we know how Utahnians are, or people who live in Utah. I don't want to keep using the word that make me sound ignorant, but the people who live in Utah, you guys should be offended when he said that. But I don't live in Utah, so I don't know how you guys think. I don't know your political views. I don't know where you guys stand. But you guys should really be offended for that type of situation. For him to come up here and say what he said was that he wished it was someone, a foreigner, or someone from another state instead of one of you guys, because that came off really tacky and really bad. I'm just saying, look it up and make your own opinion about that.
The governor of Utah wanted Charlie Kirk's shooter to be anything but white. He got up there and was like, and I was praying that if this had to happen here, it wouldn't be one of us. It'd be someone from out of state or out of the country. Huh? What do you mean by that? It seems like you wished and hoped and prayed that it was an immigrant so then you guys could continue your agenda. Or maybe a black person so that you guys could just continue the racism. And if not that, and you guys knew it was a white person, you were at least hoping that that person wasn't aligned anywhere near being a Republican. But I do really think it's about racism when it comes down to it. Because what do you mean a different country? Like the different state, okay, but I was praying that the person would have come from a different country. Why? So you can continue an agenda of racism against whatever minority it would have been from a different country that did whatever it was. You could put the blame on someone else from a different country and then use that rhetoric to create more racism, or at least have more racist conversations and tie things to minorities in order to basically demonize them, as that's been done for hundreds of years. You know what I mean? That's what it really seems like. He got up there, was kind of upset that it wasn't an immigrant. It wasn't a black person. It wasn't a minority. It wasn't a Democrat. That's what it looks like to me.
Brothers and sisters, today we need to talk about something serious that went down in Utah. During a recent press conference, the governor of Utah made a statement that many are calling racist. Now, before we dive in, I want to make sure this discussion is educational, respectful, and focused on the bigger picture of why these types of comments matter, not just to Utah, but to America and the entire world as a whole. The governor's words sparked outrage because they weren't just an off-the-cuff comment. They reflected the deeper mindset about race, belonging, and who is considered a real American. When a public leader uses language that stereotypes or excludes certain communities, it tells us more than just how they think. It shows how racial bias is still alive in leadership spaces. We need to remember, racism doesn't always come dressed in slurs or aggression. Sometimes it hides in subtle comments, stereotypes, or dismissive remarks that treat Black Americans, Africans, Caribbeans, Latinos, and other minorities as outsiders or less than. That's what makes these statements so dangerous. They normalize harmful ideas in front of millions of people. Let's pause and educate ourselves here. Why does it matter if a governor makes a racist remark? Because words from powerful people shape laws, policies, and culture. When leaders send coded messages, it can trickle down into how schools are run, how communities are policed, or how immigrants are treated. This isn't just about one governor. It's about a system where people in power often speak without understanding how their words carry weight. And if nobody challenges it, those words become part of everyday political discourse. For the diaspora, whether you're a Black American, African, or Caribbean. This matters because it reminds us how easily our contributions are dismissed. Black people have fought in every American war, built up industries, contributed to science, art, and politics, yet we still hear leaders questioning our belonging or downplaying our role in the American story. The governor's comments is a reminder that we cannot afford to be silent. Silence is what allows stereotypes to grow. And calling out racism doesn't mean we're being divisive. It means we are demanding truth, accountability, and respect. The question we need to ask is, how do we move forward? The answer isn't to spread hate back, but to educate, organize, and hold leaders accountable. We must push for a culture where politicians think twice before making dismissive or racially charged statements. Brothers and sisters, this moment isn't about Utah, it's about all of us. Every time a leader makes a statement like this, it's a reminder of how far we still have to go in building a society that truly values all its people. But history shows us that when we stand together, Black Americans, Africans, Caribbeans, and allies, we can push back against harmful rhetoric and create real change. So let's not just shake our heads and move on. Let's use our voices, let's use our platforms, and let's make sure this conversation leads to action. Because the fight against racism isn't just about calling it out. It's about building something better in its place. Thanks for watching. If it's your first time here, kindly subscribe, like, comment, and even share this video. Thank you. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.